My name's Amata, and in this Red Gaming Tech video I have a couple of items on a little platter for you, a Christmas themed platter as it will, as somehow we're only about a week or so away, and how that happened, don't know. So I've got to get cracking on my end of the year Games of the Year video, so do stay tuned for that. That should be coming soon. However, I'm here first of all with some comments from the CEO of Square Enix, one Yosuke Matsuda, who spoke with MCV. And he spoke on what is obviously a very hot topic indeed right now, thanks to numerous games, the most first and foremost being, of course, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and that topic is, of course, microtransactions. And he shared how the microtransactions and current game climate and how they actually fit together, and how this sort of very mobile style of thinking doesn't really fit, in his opinion, with console games. Not that I disagree, I'm just saying this is his opinion. And he says here, quote, "What people expect and want in a home console game is perhaps quite different from what people want in a mobile game. The way that console games are made, the volume of content, and how much effort goes into them, there's something in that which doesn't fit in the mind with microtransactions." Now, what is kind of odd about this, or not odd, but interesting, I guess is the better word, is that Matsuda did say earlier on this year that the industry is kind of shifting its focus towards games as services, where a person will be tied to a single game for a long time thanks to regular content releases. So I don't know if he's like an outright condemning of, or he's not outright condemning microtransactions, sorry. But he's saying that the way they're currently being implemented with the very mobile style of thinking, especially with Battlefront 2, is not really fitting, and I absolutely agree. Now, you guys know my opinion on microtransactions in full price game. I really dislike them. You know, if you have to do it, you know, please just stick to, you know, cosmetics. But to be honest, I'd rather you didn't do them. You know, games as a service is not brilliant because it leads to stuff like this, but I'd rather regular updates and DLC and free updates and hey, come back, we just did a huge update, it's a bunch of free content and blah blah blah. Like, that keeps people coming back to games, and that's great. You know, it means the game that you paid a fair chunk of change for lasts longer. But you can do that and still be kind of good guy games, kind of like we saw with The Witcher 3, where we saw, you know, massive expansions, like proper expansions for that game, but we also saw a metric fuck ton of free content. So you had stuff for everybody. You had people who just wanted to keep playing the game for free, and people wanted to support the game with some really awesome, you know, extra quests and all that sort of stuff. I would rather they go that route than microtransactions, to be honest, but obviously that route is very expensive. But, you know, the Witcher 3 devs have definitely been rewarded for that, so it is interesting to hear this thought from Matsuda, though, and I definitely agree that we shouldn't be seeing the mobilization of console games as we have seen, or at least the attempt from developers or publishers, sorry, to like EA. That is definitely something I do not ever want to see. You know, just this little glimpse that we've seen, or the sort of slide down towards the abyss that we've seen over the last year with the, you know, prevalence of microtransactions and loot boxes and full price games. You know, I don't want that to become the status quo, because that is just depressing, quite frankly. Anyway, let's move on to slightly more positive things, as we have a little bit of a preview to the NPD report for November of 2017. Now, usually what NPD do is they will do a sort of, here's the cliff notes, and then about a week later we will get the full breakdown of here's how the industry did, here's how hardware did, here's how software did, blah 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 blah, top 10 games this month, etc. But for now, we have the preview. So, this is, of course, US, and given that we're in the run-up to Christmas, this is a pretty damn important month. You know, the months of October, November, and of course early December are really, really important as we go up to the Christmas period. And unsurprisingly, PS4, Switch, and Xbox One all saw a very strong result in sales. And what's interesting is we don't actually have a clear leader. We actually have a bit of to and froing between the main three runners in the race here. So gamers did buy more PS4s than they did Nintendo Switches or Xbox Ones, but people also spent more money buying Xbox Ones than they did on the PS4 or Nintendo Switch. And again, according to NPD Group, But the important thing is that the most momentum did go to Sony. So what to take away from that statement I just said? Well, Sony are in the lead because they sold more consoles and they kind of kept up this really strong momentum that they've had over the entire year. The PS4 and the Pro, of course, have been going on an absolute tear. But so is the Switch. The Switch obviously has a little bit catching up to do, and just as I said yesterday, it's doing really, really well for itself. I would not be surprised to see the Switch become like the main contender to the PS4, but obviously the PS4 does have quite the significant sales lead in terms of the fact that it's been out longer. But it is interesting that people spent more money on the Xbox One. Now, I think this is partially because, well, the Scorpio is a thing, and that console is quite expensive, and also people spent more money within the Xbox One ecosystem despite the fact that Sony sold more units. However, I do have a quote here from the NPD analyst Matt Piscatella, who said, quote, more units of PlayStation 4 hardware sold in November 2017 than any other month life to date. PlayStation 4 is the best-selling video game hardware platform year to date. So, the long story short, PS4 is still doing really, really well and still does reign supreme for now. However, overall, everyone is doing well. Hardware spending for the month of November was up 52% year over year to $1.1 billion, and NPD are crediting that to all three major consoles, Scorpio, or the price drop in the Xbox One S, and of course the Switch and the PS4/Pro. So the job now, I think, is for all of them to kind of build upon this momentum, and obviously the ones that have to do that the most are, of course, Microsoft, because, they're not exactly doing bad. No, not by any means, but of course they are quite behind when it comes to the sales race. However, the more important thing is, can they keep up the momentum with the Xbox One X? Because it's been going quite well so far. It's proven very, very popular, and it is a rather nice machine. So they just need to build upon that steady stream of good games, good updates, all that sort of stuff. The backwards compatibility is a huge factor in not only the Xbox One X, but of course the One and the S as well. But before I ramble on much longer, I do have a further comment here from Piscatella, who said, quote, year-to-date hardware spending has grown 28% versus 2016 to $3.4 billion. Consumer spending on Nintendo Switch and plug-and-play devices like the Super Nintendo Classic and the PlayStation 4 to fuel growth. Will we see a massive increase like this next year? It's hard to say, but I doubt it, because obviously we're not going to be seeing any big hardware releases from any of the main contenders next year, unless Sony really want to pull something out like surprising. But I doubt that very, very much, to be honest with you. People would not be impressed if that were to happen. But the likelihood is it's just going to be a continuation of PS4 Pro, Xbox One X, and of course the vanilla, and the Switch, and of course the Pro. Did I say vanilla or Pro? Regardless, you get my point. So we also might see the 3DS be killed off. I mean, I know Nintendo said they weren't going to do that, but they say that every time, and they always do. I do think the 3DS and the Switch are kind of at odds with each other. The Switch is being used a lot as a handheld device, as well as, of course, one you can plug into your TV. So I'd not be surprised to see Nintendo fully switch over to the Switch, pun not intended, and see the 3DS being put to bed after a very successful run, I might add. So that's the only thing we might have happen next year. But to be honest, I think it's just going to be software for all three companies. So we might not see as big hardware spending, but we might see better software spending. Now, as I said, this is just a preview of the NPD report, but we will be seeing more from these guys soon. I will be, of course, back with the full report, so do keep your eyes peeled for that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.